Hello and welcome back to the Nash Metal Production channel here at YouTube. And, well, you thought that I was pretty much done with this channel. You thought that I wasn't going to upload one last thing before 2019. You thought I wasn't? Well, here I am with, of course, with the very last video for 2018. Because I can't just leave it at the video that I did, at least, because it's just inappropriate to kind of have one video and just throughout all of all of December without a video. So, fine. So this is, to me, the proper way to end off 2018. So with that, of course, this being uploaded on the very last day being, of course, New Year's Eve. So, without all the babbling and anything, this of course is a top 10 best albums of 2018. I know, 10 albums. Regularly, most of my end of the year lists are either 20 or 30 albums at least. But to be quite honest, I didn't really listen to a whole lot of albums this year. Sure, I had listened to maybe about 12, maybe 13 or 14 albums this year, but for some reason, I just couldn't keep up with a lot of this stuff, and to be quite honest, I am having a hankering to kind of go back to some albums I had never listened to in a long time, and from there on, I just kept checking out more earlier albums, more older albums and stuff. So, new albums just became secondary to me, or third party to me. They they weren't at the forefront. But for 2019, I will get this out of the way. My goal for 2019 for my New Year's resolution is pretty much to do more videos, do more content, and listen to more albums, so I can do maybe a 20 or maybe a 30. I may not listen to like 40 or 50 or 100 albums. There's just not going to be that, and some albums I only sample them, and not a whole lot has been hitting me a whole lot. If there has, it's been from bands that have already been established, or if there's a new band that just has that kind of sound that hits with me, there will be. But I don't think you're gonna see a whole lot of newer bands or even younger ones on my channel. It just has to have something that will blow me away, or at least be something that at least sounds really good for me to want to write home about. So with all of that, let's finally get into the top 10 here, which in order to make this top 10, I have to at least listen to the album. Since I didn't really review a whole lot, and I think there was only about 6 or 5 albums I think that I had reviewed. 6 or 7, depending, but I didn't review a whole lot of albums. So I just at least had to listen to it, and since there was at least, though technically there's about 12 here, or there would have been 13, considering there was an EP that I checked out, and I'll get to that band's EP, or at least that band that released that EP that I had listened to. So, with this, there is at least, 12 albums I did listen to. However, I want to condense it to 10, because while one of these albums I do own, and one of them I don't own, but I do have on a burn disc due to the fact that the band themselves had, of course I did a review on it anyway, so I'll just get it over with. And that's, of course, is the Enchantelope album, Natural 20, which is this cover right here. Which, man, I wanted to add this sound to the list. It is a great album. It's definitely a killer album for sure. And for a debut album, it's great. But because I didn't really go out and buy the album after downloading it, I can't really add it to the actual top 10 list here. It is a great album, definitely. I definitely do recommend checking out this album. It's definitely a bit on the stoner, doom, almost hard rock and slash almost heavy metal kind of sound of an album. It's a great, great album from them. and they are definitely one to look out for. But sadly, I had to pull myself away from not adding it into the top 10 list, because there are some other great albums that I did listen to that did make the top 10 list. So don't take that with a anger or anything. It's a great album, but there's just a few more other albums I do own that definitely at least needed to be at least spotted. So with that, the other honorable mention goes to the album that I do own, and I didn't listen to the sound very much when I bought it. I only listened to it one time. I did revisit it before putting this list together, and it is a good album. That's, of course, I'm talking about the debut full-length album from Greta Van Fleet, and that's, of course, Anthem of the Peaceful Army. I'm not going to go into all the details about whether or not this band's a fucking Led Zeppelin clone, or they're hurting rock, or whatever. I'm not going to go into it. That to me is just complete drivel to me. I base my opinions off of the music itself, and I don't care about people's opinions. To me, yes, there is that Led Zeppelin influence in there, but there's also quite a bit of other sort of 70s rock influences in this album. However, the reason it didn't make my top 10 is not based on if they're weak or terrible or anything, or any of the reasons that many people wanted to point out, because they think they're that much fucking experts on rock, which everything's subjective. It's not objective, okay? Jesus Christ. Anyways, the reason it didn't make my top 10 list is because, okay, I guess I will. There is some good about the sound, actually. I think the first half, everything from track 1, Age of Man, all the way to track 5, Lover, Leaver, Taker, Believer, which is by far the hardest rockin' song on the album, and it's by far my favorite track on the album. However, the minute we get to the follow-up track to Lover, Leaver, Taker, Believer, which is You're the One, I swear the album takes a bit of a dip a bit. It doesn't really hold a bit of the same sort of energy that at least you were kind of getting with the first 5 tracks. Maybe the only song that kind of is on that same level is the song Brave New World, but other than that, it's a good album, but it's definitely getting there. And to be quite honest, I wanted to put in my top 10, but again, there's some other good albums that also came out that I did end up getting up, and the 10 that I picked are at times slightly better than this, but that's not the takeaway from the sound. This is definitely a good debut album from them, and I would say it's probably just as good as the EP that they released, which I also have as well, which is From the Fires. Good EP, but to me, they're in their early stages, okay? For people to jump on that they're, for people to want to say that they are hurting rock or whatever, they're in their early stages, okay? Look what with many bands that start off earlier, like Judas Priest or Accept, or Deep Purple, like the earliest stuff of Rod Evans. It was different. It wasn't quite what would come later, so I think this band just needs to be given time. Just give them time. They will get to that sort of spot where that's it. That they found their sound. They found it. They're getting there. Just give them time. So that's enough for rambling on this album. I don't want to make this video too long. So those are your 2 honorable mentions. Let's finally get into the actual list, the actual meat of the whole entire video, and that's the actual top 10 best albums, for me at least, of 2018. So, coming in at number 10 is, well, Spaceman from Ace Frehley, which of course Scott Waters added this into his list video as well, which I did check out. That's definitely a great list video, and to me, I don't look at list videos though for just best sounds, whatever. Sometimes just look at them for recommendations. They're definitely good for that. So here, this is definitely a solid album. I haven't really listened to a whole lot of Ace Frehley's solo stuff, to be quite honest. I am very aware of him, and I have sampled a few songs here and there. Just that I just haven't been in much of a Kiss mood. I would have to be in a complete Kiss mood to really check out full stuff, and recently I've been getting back in at least Kiss's early stuff the most. But since he had released this new album, since I was down in Fresno at the time that it was released, I did pick it up, and of course, it is a good album. Definitely a good hard rock album from Ace Frehley. When it comes to even some of his stuff, I guess you could say it's no different. Even if you're a fan of some of the really early Kiss sounds, there is a little bit of that there as well, like mostly maybe the first three, maybe. It's just Kiss's, Ace Frehley's signature guitar sound, his whole attitude and everything. It's his signature sound, his style. So, and that's what you're going to get there. If you didn't care for his style, this is not going to change your mind. But if you are, it's definitely a good album. I don't want to go on with song details. It's definitely a solid album. There are definitely some good tracks on here, and some quirky ones, but again, it's Ace Frehley. So, that's at number 10. Next up, at number 9. This band is actually out of my backwoods of my hometown, Fresno, California, which I was born from. That's, of course, is Haunt, with their debut full-length album, which I did review their EP that they had released, which was Luminous Eyes. But their debut album is by far probably better than their EP, which, of course, is Burst into Flame. And I would say this is a damn good album. Vocals at times are a little bit desired, but you know what, for me, it's just that sort of can't sing, don't care, it's only, rock and roll kind of stuff to me. That's all that I care about is music and everything, and there's some great compositions on this one, great heavy metal feel. Trevor William Church, of course, is the son of Bill Church, bass player for Montrose and Sammy Hagar. Great just songwriting and everything. It definitely doesn't sound like Montrose or Sammy Hagar or that. It doesn't sound like, but definitely is going for more of a new wave of British heavy metal sound. Of course, them being a part of the later part of this new wave of traditional heavy metal movement. It's a great sound. Some great songs on here. I don't want to go too on. I would love to have done a review, but because I was being lazy and everything, I didn't. But it is definitely a great album with some great songs. So at that, it definitely belonged in my top 10 list here. And of course, it was also in Scott Waters. I know I'm probably going to be name dropping him a few times here, so bear with me. I don't want to sound like a complete love fest, but I do watch his videos and everything. If there's anyone that have anyway, I don't know why I said that. Either way, great album anyway and everything. Good album. Alright, so coming at number 8. A little bit surprising. I haven't really watched a whole lot of list videos because sometimes I like to put my own before I see anyone else's. It just seems, I don't know, it's almost like kind of weird to do for a person who's putting their own list to then, because it's just like, I don't know, it almost seems like a copying or whatever, but this time I don't think so. But though it was on Cover Killer Nation's list video, of course, it's the new Alice in Chains album, which of course is Rainier Fog. I am aware of some of the later Alice in Chains album. I do have an Alice in Chains album anyways, and that's of course is Facelift. Great album, I do, and one of the few grunge bands I really do like. And Alice in Chains just have more of a dark, almost doomy, stoner, sludgy kind of sound to them. They're not very much like Nirvana or Pearl Jam or those kind of bands. They've got their own sound, which at times is really heavy. And this sound definitely is no different. It's a heavy record from Alice in Chains. There are some great tracks on this album. I don't want to go into song and everything, but it's definitely a solid album from Alice in Chains. Is it going to be as good as those early ones with the late Lane Stanley? No. But is it a good album from this era? Yes. And this is definitely a solid album from Alice in Chains, and I was definitely happy to actually pick up a copy of this one when I did. So, great album from Alice in Chains. So, coming in at number 7 is, though I was watching a little bit of Cloudy Stormy Milder's top 18 list, he added this album in there. And I was already going to add this album no matter what into my list. That, of course, is the Michael Schenker Fest album, Resurrection. Which, of course, is Michael Schenker pretty much reuniting with 4 of his vocalists, being Graham Bonnet, Gary Barden, Ronald McCauley, and Doogie White. From either the Michael Schenker group, which is kind of consists of most of the lineup here, because both Graham Bonnet and Gary Barden were from the Michael Schenker group, whereas Robert McCauley was a part of that McCauley Schenker group one, whereas Doogie White sang with Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock. This is definitely a solid album. I did do a review on this one for sure, and it's definitely a great album from Michael Schenker. Is it going to be as good as any of those Michael Schenker group albums, like the first 3 maybe? No. Is it going to be close to that? It's a good album. It's definitely great. It's just Michael Schenker for sure. It's just this great signature guitar tone, melodic, at times heavy, but with a lot of feel and a lot of emotion, which usually adds in within his guitar tone, and it's always in his style. That's what I love about Michael Schenker's playing. Besides his ego, which I don't look at very much, I mostly look at his guitar playing and his musical style, and that's what draws me to him. And this definitely delivers on most of those accounts, and I like that for that. Good songs. Already did a review, so I don't need to talk too much about it. It is a solid album from Michael Schenker, being, of course, Michael Schenker Fest. So, Resurrection, coming in at number 7. Finally, coming at number 6, before I get into the top 5 part of it, is... Fuck. This came out really early within the year, and I reviewed it. And this is an album that could have easily been in my top 5 here. This could have easily, even though this is a top 10, it can be considered as a whole. This is a great album, though, from him. Probably some of my favorite of the recent material. And that's, of course, is Pounding the Pavement from Anvil. This is a great album from Anvil. Just, to me, classic Anvil most of the time. From the guitar tone, from the production, to the whole attitude and feel, which Anvil, just like their album from 2015, was one that was released before this one, Anvil is Anvil, they stick to that. Of course, when you got a song such as Doing What I Want, it just goes along with Anvil as Anvil. They are them, and this is what they want to do. And this whole album is filled with that. And there is not a bad song on this album. Every song is easily, at times, just as good as the last one. Great, great album from Anvil, and probably my favorite of their more recent era stuff. Even though I like This Is 13, I like Juggernaut of Justice, and I don't know if I didn't care as much for Hope in Him. I always kind of found that being more of a filler album. It was kind of slightly weak, even, but it's not a bad album at all. Then, of course, Anvil is Anvil, which I did like, but it just still didn't have that sort of class. It's almost there, but it did. This album, immediately great from start to finish. So, great album from Anvil, Pounding the Pavement. Now, finally, to the 5 albums here. So coming at number 5, another album that could have easily probably been number 2, or could have been my number 1 album. And this was one of my most anticipated albums of this year, and that's, of course, is the new Judas Priest with Firepower. Man, I didn't care much for Redeemer of Souls, actually. Even though it's a good album, I always kind of felt the production and the mix and everything just bogged that album down. Because when I heard some of those songs being played live, man, they were better. This album actually has great production, of course being the return of Tom Allom as a producer, but this time introducing Andy Sneap, who of course would eventually take over for Glenn Tipton's spot because of Tipton succumbing to Parkinson's disease. Pretty much Andy Sneap had to pretty much replace that spot, even though Glenn Tipton here and there will come on stage and play at least 3 songs. This is equally better than Redeemer of Souls for me. Great production, Some great songs on here. Almost, it sounds more rejuvenated. You got, of course, many great songs on here. Firepower, Lightning Strikes, Never the Heroes, Necromancer, Children of the Sun, which has a very classic 70s Priest sound. And of course you got Rising from the Ruins, Flamethrower, Spectre, which again brings back that sort of 70s era Priest sound. And of course Traitor's Gate, No Surrender, Lone Wolf, again another one that goes back to sort of 70s style Priest sound. So there is some great stuff here, all mix of sort of eras from like either the 80s to the 70s to of course the 90s, like Painkiller. Maybe slightly bit of Jugulator here and there. Great album. Solid album from Judas Priest. Great album. That's all I could say. And I've already did a review on it. Alright, coming in at number 4 is an album I did not expect to be put this high. I just recently got this, mostly on Christmas Day. And if it wasn't for Vinyl Transmission, I probably would have not completely cared. Even though I like this band's 70s stuff a lot. Their earlier stuff at least. And that's of course his new album from Uriah Heep, that's Living the Dream. Man, I did not expect to actually like it as much as I did. If it wasn't for Vinyl Transmission and his convincing review of the album, I probably would have not checked it out, but this is a solid album. I could have easily done a review for this one if I wanted to. There is some... This, to me, is a way of taking this sort of 70s sound of mostly the David Byrne era of Uriah Heep, but mixing with the sort of modern, almost slightly Saxon or Accept or Judas Priest kind of tone. Like taking like 70s but moderating up a bit and giving it a much more fresher sound at times to really fit it within today. And it's like, and there's some great songs on here. Grace by Heaven, Living the Dream, which is the title track, Knocking at My Door, Rocks in the Road, Water's Form, which it almost turns into a ballad, but Uriah Heep are known for their ballads anyway, especially during the David Byrne era, but this one goes, it really has a way of being progressive. It goes from being melodic or ballady, but then strictly goes to something very rocking and heavy at times. Great song. It's All Been Said. Goodbye to Innocence, probably the most rockin' song on the album. It definitely at times is almost close to that being like maybe Easy Livin' or so. Great track. Falling Under Your Spell, Dreams of Yesteryear, everything at times has that sort of feel of either that could have songs that could have been maybe look at yourself, or Sweet Freedom, or even the Demons and Wizards. Just has that sort of sound, but with the sort of modern production. Great album from Uriah Heep. I did not expect to like it as much as I did, and to rank it high that I did. Completely surprised. So, of the Bernie Shaw era, this is probably one of the best, for me at least, of the Bernie Shaw era of Uriah Heep. And I'm just recently getting into that era, and that's a great album. If you haven't even checked out the Bernie Shaw era stuff, that's probably definitely an album to really check out. Alright, so at number 3, another anticipated album, and this could have easily been put at number 1 or 2 here. But it's here at number 3. That's, of course, his new album from Saxon, that's Thunderbolt. Just classic Saxon. Maybe something that's slightly better than Battering Ram, but still, it's Saxon to me. It's, of course, again, that modern era Saxon sound that started with sounds such as Unleash the Beast or Metalhead. Or some of those other ones, like maybe Killing Ground, or maybe Into the in the Inner Sanctum or something like that. Some of those sounds, it's kind of that sort of sound, but still great stuff from Saxon. It's what you expect from them. No, not a bad track on here. Even I kind of like the song Predator, which is a duet between Biff Byford and the guy from Amon Amarth, which kind of adds sort of a death metal feel. Weird, but for some reason it works. So, good album from Saxon. I already did a review, so I don't have to say anything more. Great album from Saxon. Alright. Number 2 was sound that's playing in the background. This was released really early in the year. And that's, of course, is the second full-length and last full-length now from Substratum. That's, of course, is Permission to Rock. They were out of Seattle, Washington. The reason I say last, even though they released an EP after, which I did check out, which is titled Stratosphere, great EP as well. Just sadly, they ended up splitting up because of their guitar player had left. And they felt like they didn't really need to replace the guy. Crazy, and it's the only cassette you're going to see me probably showing any sort of video, actually, at least for a new album. Even though there is a CD release, but the CD release got released later. The cassette was released really early, and it was up for pre-order by the really tail end of 2017, but didn't get released until 2018. So, to me, it is a fucking great album. Definitely some hooks on this album, and when it comes to female vocals, Amy Lee Carlson, her vocals are so great, and to me, she might be right now one of my favorite female vocalists. Singing so fucking great on this sound. She has a way of keeping the note up, keeping the rhythm, everything. Just adds a whole other level to at least the really good, almost Thin Lizzy meets Metal Church meets Sanctuary kind of sound. Just great stuff from Substratum. I already did a review on it, so with that, I don't have to say any more. Just sucks in that the band ended up splitting up because of these guys were just getting better and better with each release, and just classic, just very classy heavy metal from female-fronted Substratum. Finally, at number one, it's predictable. I know that Blackmore Rules is probably considering this one to be his number one favorite album of the year. That's, of course, Dust to Gold from Bullet. These guys have been around since the 2000s, and I've just been into these guys since the late 2000s, and what a great band, though. Each release, I swear, they're just like Substratum. They're just getting better and better with each release, though. They definitely are one of the earliest new wave or traditional heavy metal bands, definitely being there alongside Wolf and Forcer and those kind of bands, and Ram. They were there. Their sound definitely doesn't stray away too far from like Accept or Saxon or AC/DC or Nazareth or those kind of bands. They don't stray away, because definitely the Nazareth comparison comes from vocalist Dag Hillhofer. His vocals is very much, pretty much a cross between Dan McCafferty and Udo Dirkschneider. And I've stated that before. And I got kudos from the band for making that comparison. Seriously, great, and it just gives the album a whole other sort of feel. It's like you don't really get that a whole lot with new wave traditional metal bands. It is charismatic singers. This guy's got a huge charisma, I would say, and adds a whole extra feel that makes them stick out from the other new wave or traditional metal bands at times. Hooks are definitely apparent on this sound. To me, this might be the best album by far. From Speed and Attack to Ain't Enough to Rogue Soldier, Feel the Fire, One More Round, Highway of Love, Wildfire, Screams in the Night, Forever Rise, Hollow Ground, and Dust to Gold. This whole album is jam-packed with riffs, jam-packed with hooks, and just jam-packed with a whole enough of charisma to really blow open a 10-ton barrel whiskey bottle or something. Just enough to shake the foundations, at least, of a goddamn avalanche. Or just to start one. Just a great album from Bullet. And for me, an album I played a shit ton of times. I could never get this out of my CD player. It was always back in my CD player. Great album from Bullet, and my number one album for 2018. So there you go. Bit of a long video because I kept rambling here and there in the beginning. So with that, end off 2018. Hope you enjoyed the list and everything. If there's a few albums here that you did listen to or haven't, check them out. Or if you have, comment down below. Here is to 2019. And here is to some more videos and some more albums from me and some more, reviews and stuff. More from me. So with that, hope every one of you had a great 2018. So here, Happy New Year, and here's to 2019. Cheers, everyone. Raise your fist in the air.